episode 6. Welcome again, wrestling fans, to today's episode. Our feature of focus for today is going to be on the true story of the Royal Rumble. Now, I absolutely love the Royal Rumble. It's hands down the greatest battle royal in professional wrestling ever, and every January I look forward to the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. I've wanted to give my thoughts on this feature for some time to people, and now I feel is a good time to do so. For this set, I've read other reviews online regarding what other people's thoughts were on what they thought of this feature, and it seems that the true story of the Royal Rumble has garnered a bit of mixed reviews, with some saying that the documentary featured was slightly underwhelming, and a few of the matches featured in this set were somewhat bad choices. Well, I'm going to give all of you my thoughts on this feature in today's episode. Today's feature will be looked at in two parts in this video, so before we look at the matches featured like I would normally do, the first part of focus is looking over the documentary and discussing roughly what was shown in that, and after the documentary is done and dusted, then we'll head to part 2 of focus, which of course will be on the matches featured. There will be a list of pros and cons that I feel were in the documentary, along with the scores from the scoring system regarding the match choices. Both of these will be shown together at the end. The true story of the Royal Rumble contains 10 matches, 4 of them Royal Rumbles, and 3 additional matches as Blu-Ray exclusives. Once we're all done, I'll also give my final analysis and my thoughts on this set. I'm so really looking forward to going over this feature today. But anyhow, let's begin with our look. The documentary is just over an hour long, and it plays out as a back and forth concept. It goes between the present day, 2016, given that this was the year this was released, and past moments regarding the Rumble events. As for moments on the backstory, I felt the details were fine to me, though some were a little brief. We get Pat Patterson, the man credited as the innovator of the Royal Rumble, giving us some good details on how the match came to be. And we also get more information from Dick Ebersol from NBC, where he tells us how the first Royal Rumble debuted on primetime television in 1988. Most of the beginning of the documentary is mainly short backstory and people being interviewed saying their praises for the Royal Rumble, which is normally standard procedure in these kind of documentaries from the WWE. In fairness, most of the present day scenes we keep going back to during this feature are somewhat kept short before going right back to the past events. Following the narrator saying how the first Rumble success led the show to become one of WWE's pay-per-views, our next main focus is the 1992 Royal Rumble. This was significant as we all know this was the first time there was any kind of prize for the winner of the Rumble. In that match, Ric Flair of course won the vacant WWF title on that night. During the discussion of Rumble winners going on to WrestleMania to challenge for a title, Shawn Michaels talked about the topic of someone winning a Royal Rumble prior to 1992 and after that, and the Heartbreak Kid said, "It went from you win the Royal Rumble, it was a nice little push for you as an individual, but where you went after that was sort of anybody's business." Now the decision was made for the winner of the Royal Rumble would then be guaranteed a championship match at WrestleMania. And that's where it becomes huge, because then, unlike any other time in January, you know you're going to the main event. After the narrator briefly tells us details on Rumble winners winning the chance to headline WrestleMania, the next event to receive main focus is the 1997 event. This was because this one, held at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, had the biggest live attendance for a Rumble at that time. Following a present-day scene where fans tell us who they think would win the 2016 Rumble, our next focus is on fans' reactions to certain winners. We first look at the 2015 Rumble that Roman Reigns won and how fans rejected him and the entire match following Daniel Bryan's elimination from the bout earlier on. We then look at the Rumble from 1 year earlier, and like the 2015 match, fans also wanted Daniel Bryan to win this one as well, but instead WWE had Batista, who had just returned to WWE, win it instead. After this, it's a look at controversy in Rumble matches. Topics brought up here include Stone Cold Steve Austin being eliminated in the 97 Rumble, only to re-enter it and win the whole thing. The 1994 Rumble with Lex Luger and Bret Hart co-winning the match after they eliminated each other. The 2000 Rumble match where The Rock eliminated The Big Show, but Rock's feet appeared to have touched the floor first before Big Show. And finally, the 2005 Rumble finish where Batista and John Cena accidentally eliminated each other, and it led to Vince McMahon furiously coming to the ring. And McMahon even admitted to tearing both his quadriceps when he tried to slide into the ring. We then focus on surprise entrants in Rumbles. After we're shown the arrival of AJ Styles, who was set to debut in the 2016 Rumble, we cut to guys interviewed to discuss the excitement of surprise entrance, which is one of my favourite elements of the Royal Rumble. We get shown familiar faces who did appear in Rumbles. These include guys like Bubba Ray Dudley in 2015, Diamond Dallas Page also that year, Diesel in 2011 and the Honky Tonk Man in 2001, just to name a few. This is, to me, is the best part of the documentary in my opinion because of the nostalgia feel us fans get from faces from the past showing up. And I love nostalgia, not just in wrestling but in general on the whole. The next talking point is on the undercard of Rumble events. Now I'm glad this got brought up here because guys like Edge and Bret Hart have their say and praises on how the undercard is as important as the Rumble itself, and we all know there has been incredible undercard matches that have led up to the Royal Rumble match, even at times when the Rumble wasn't even the main event. Some guys interviewed talk about their undercard matches and how exciting their experience was during this whole focus. We come then to milestones and records next. After statistics and records are provided by the narrator, we look at a few of these. We have Rey Mysterio's time of 62 minutes 12 seconds in the 2006 Rumble. That was the first Rumble I ever watched when I became a fan of wrestling. This was at the time of this feature's release the record for longest time in the Royal Rumble until 2023 when the record was broke by Gunther. Just wanted to bring that up for you. Another record looked at is Steve Austin's one of the most Royal Rumble victories achieved. He of course did this by winning the 1997 Rumble, despite getting eliminated prior to his win, the 1998 Rumble, and the 2001 Rumble. And as of the time of this episode, this record has yet to be beaten. Then Kane is the next centre of attention, as the Big Red Machine's then record of 11 eliminations in one Rumble is brought up, and how it was broke by Roman Reigns in the 2014 Rumble. Those interviewed here mention how Kane still, even to this day, holds the record for total number of eliminations combined from his Royal Rumble appearances altogether, and this table shown here from Wikipedia tells us that too. Next focus point is remembered moments in Rumbles. Examples include here are Chyna being the first woman to enter a Royal Rumble, which she did in 1999, and we get ladies like Trish Stratus, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch all complimenting Chyna and how she paved the way for future generations in women's wrestling and her dominance in her Rumble appearance. Other iconic moments that get brought up here include Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior coming face to face for the first time in the 1990 Rumble, Kofi Kingston and his sagacious and draw-dropping survivals from elimination, and the ending to the 2007 Royal Rumble between Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, which, yes, that is no doubt the greatest ending to a Rumble match ever. After the final present-day scene, which shows Triple H eliminating Dean Ambrose to win the 2016 Rumble and the WWE title, the documentary starts to wrap up. Basically, guys interviewed here give us their final say on the Royal Rumble, such as the importance of the event, the excitement of the match itself, I greatly agree there, and what the Rumble brings to fans worldwide. And the last scene is of Pat Patterson at the 2016 event looking over the event and himself saying the excitement there is superb, or words to that effect if you like. And that's part one all done, the documentary. As said earlier, I'll give all of you my thoughts on the documentary after we've looked at the matches on this feature, which we're now going to head on to next. The scoring system used in the last episode will be used again, of course, but the words I will use this time are going to be different than the last episode. Those words that are going to be used today are the following: sagacious, which is another word for wise or shrewd, and it means that the match was a wise choice to be featured on this set. Competent, a somewhat acceptable choice but not an outstanding one. And baffling, not a wise or possibly even an acceptable choice to be in this feature. Just quickly, before we begin, going forward, every episode I do, the scoring system I use will have different words featured. I just like to use different terms for different topics, but I do apologise if you think otherwise. Also, as said earlier, people have said that some weird or bad choices for matches are included in this feature. Well, let's get stuck in and let's find out. We come to the first ever Royal Rumble match from 1988. This had to be included on this, as for me it's essential to show inaugural events on these home releases. The match here had 20 entrants, and the first few Rumbles following this one didn't have a prize for the eventual winner. So this was more like an attraction match that WWE wanted to test out, and boy did it surpass expectations. The bout ended with Hacksaw Jim Duggan pulling the top rope down to eliminate One Man Gang, and he made history by becoming the first ever Royal Rumble winner. As for how good the match was, I found it to be a good start as a blueprint for what the match would become in the years that followed. This was a wise choice to be in this feature, so our first point goes to Sagacious. Good start. The next match is from the 1991 Royal Rumble. We have tag team action here between the Rockers and the Orient Express. This one shows that the Royal Rumble event is not just about the Rumble itself, and the undercard matches on the card can be show stealers too, as mentioned before. This tag team match no doubt proves that case. We get great tag work from both teams here, good selling from Shawn Michaels, and the crowd was into this bout a lot. The match saw the Rockers get the win when Shawn Michaels disrupted the Orient Express's double team manoeuvre, which led to Marty Jannetty scoring the pinfall win here. This was superb for a tag team match that actually opened the show on that night, so Sagacious it's going to be again because, as mentioned, matches featured on the undercard can be show stealers as well. Following that, we have the WWF title match between Sergeant Slaughter and champion Ultimate Warrior, also from the 91 Rumble. This was the first time the WWF title changed hands at a Royal Rumble event, which is why I think WWE picked this match to be on this set. The match had a bit of a quick-paced start with Warrior dominating early, but Sensational Sherry showed up to distract Warrior, which led to him chasing her up the entranceway, where he got ambushed by Randy Savage before the match went back to the ring. Slaughter took the lead in dominating Warrior, who began to mount comebacks a couple of times before Sherry appeared again, and this resulted in Ultimate Warrior press slamming Sherry onto Savage before the Macho Man hit Warrior with the scepter that he had, and this led to Sergeant Slaughter winning the WWF title. This was a passable match, so my answer will be competent, but as I said, I kind of get why they possibly chose this match here. Our next match to look at is the 1994 Royal Rumble match. Now, if I'm perfectly honest here, out of all the Rumble matches featured in this set, this one is a bit of a strange choice. In this one, Diesel showed dominance, as all big guys in WWE try to do, and the match on the whole is passable, all things considered. It came down to Lex Luger and Bret the Hitman Hart, and both men went over the top rope, but none of the cameras could actually pick up who touched the floor first. After a long check and several of Howard Finkel's announcements being halted, the Fink announced both Luger and Hart as co-winners. I think that's why this one is on this set, as it had co-winners. But baffling is what I'm going with here, because why is this one on here and not a more fondly remembered Rumble match? We come to the WWF title match from the 1997 Royal Rumble between Psycho Sid and challenger Shawn Michaels. This was a rematch from their 1996 Survivor Series bout, and it was said that prior to this match HBK had the flu, and all things considered, Shawn did put on a decent performance in this one, and Psycho Sid was fine as well in this bout. The match came off as a good encounter, but their Survivor Series match is probably better. Don't count this one out though at all, it is enjoyable, to me at least it was. For a rating for choice of selection, it was a competent choice, but what do you guys think regarding this match being in the feature? Now we look at Taz's WWE debut against Kurt Angle at the 2000 Royal Rumble. My belief is this match was added to include the WWE debut of someone at a Royal Rumble event. Through a 3-minute or so match, this was good, and Taz worked well with Angle in this bout, and the ending saw Taz lock the Taz mission on Kurt and choke him out to win via technical submission. Some will probably say this was not a wise choice for a bout included here, and honestly, I can't really decide my answer here. Oh dear. I'm going to go with competent, as looking at the match on the whole is probably not a wise choice, but that of course is debatable. If you think otherwise, please let me know. We have more Royal Rumble action next with the 2001 Royal Rumble. This was the last Rumble to be featured in the Attitude Era, and I have always enjoyed this one. We get some fun moments with Drew Carey entering the match and the fans cheering him on with delight during his time in the ring. Kane showed his dominance by setting a record of 11 eliminations in this Rumble, and even a portion of the Rumble went hardcore with weapons being used here. The way the match ended was kind of interesting, with Steve Austin giving Kane numerous chair shots to the head and then clotheslining him over the top rope to win the match. With what this match gave us, I say this is a sagacious choice to be in this set, so that will be my say. We next get another Royal Rumble match, and it's the 2007 Royal Rumble. This one, no doubt, as said earlier, has the greatest ending to a Royal Rumble, and that's what fans pretty much think of when it comes to this match. This one was billed as the most star-studded Rumble in history. Sounds like exaggeration to me. Some of the eliminations in this bout were kind of funny, such as Edge eliminating the cocky Kenny Dykstra, and the cool one with Kane chokeslamming Sabu through a table. And boy, when it gets to the final two, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, the fans were in for a treat. And it becomes a bit like a mini one-on-one match while the two men tried to eliminate each other. This went on for a few minutes and the Dead Man eliminated the Heartbreak Kid to win. And this was the first time someone entered from the number 30 spot as well to win the Rumble. Some say this Rumble as a whole was a bit underwhelming, but I don't mind it. The ending is the highlight here, and I'm going to go with Sagacious just because of that. We have another WWE title match to look at now. It's CM Punk versus The Rock from 2013. Although this match is entertaining, I don't think this one is a wise choice for a choice of selection for this set. It's because, nothing against CM Punk or The Rock here, good guys and I enjoy their work in the ring, but I always had the feeling that some fans didn't want Rock to end CM Punk's title reign, which stood at 434 days here, and it was apparent that a majority of fans were chanting for CM Punk during this match. And after The Rock got ambushed presumably by The Shield, which occurred in the dark, Punk originally won, but Vince McMahon was about to strip Punk of the title due to The Shield's alleged interference. But Rock told Vince to restart the bout, and McMahon of course complied, and following a people's elbow, Rock won the WWE title and ended Punk's reign. Again, this match was entertaining, but I don't think this was a wise choice to be on this set, so I'll go with competent on the basis of the choice of it being on here, and also I don't like it when full-time champions drop belts to part-timers. That isn't something I'm fond of, no matter who it is. We come to the 2016 Royal Rumble for the Divas title bout between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Presumably, this one's on the feature as WWE maybe wanted a women's match included here, no complaints with that at all. And the match wasn't bad, but I feel Ric Flair's interference, no offence to the Nature Boy, kind of ruined the bout a little. But both Lynch and Flair worked well here, nothing bad to say there, but there are better matches between the two. As for the match quality, I was tempted to say baffling if I'm perfectly honest here, because of the choice of it being on here, but I'll say competent instead, as this is a bit better than other women's matches from Rumble events that we've already had in the past. We're now at the Blu-Ray exclusives now, and our first look at the exclusives is Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Duke the Dumpster Droese from the free-for-all show of the 1996 Royal Rumble. In this bout, whoever won would get the number 30 spot in the Rumble match later that night, and the loser had to enter at number 1. Helmsley initially won the match, but Gorilla Monsoon, the WWF commissioner, came out and he reversed the decision due to Hunter using a pair of brass knuckles on Droese to get the win. So Droese won the match via disqualification and awarded the number 30 spot, which meant Helmsley had to start the Rumble from number 1. The winner and loser stipulations were possibly the reason why this was an exclusive, but despite that, I'm actually going with baffling as my decision on the basis of choice for this being here. The match was quite average but alright, but not to me a well-remembered Rumble moment, especially as it occurred on a free-for-all show. Our next exclusive is the 15-man SmackDown Royal Rumble match from the January 29th, 2004 episode of SmackDown. The winner here would face Brock Lesnar for the WWE title at No Way Out, and I, all things considered, had fun watching this one, and it was a great move from WWE to do this for fans who maybe didn't watch Rumble matches on pay-per-view at the time. My only complaint with this match was there were commercial breaks, even on this home release, and online for that matter. So some guys entered the match, and eliminations also occurred during some of these breaks, which was a slight letdown. We had another great Rumble ending here, and this one was between Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero. The latter had been attacked earlier in the show. Guerrero won the match, and the way he eliminated Kurt Angle with that suplex over the top rope was awesome. Despite the commercial breaks, I enjoyed this one, and I'm going to say sagacious because this was a great choice for a bonus match to be featured in this set, and it was good to show that Royal Rumble matches had occurred on weekly television as well. The last exclusive match here is another televised Royal Rumble match, the 7-man Royal Rumble from the January 31st, 2011 episode of Raw. Like the SmackDown Rumble just looked at, the winner of this one would challenge The Miz for the WWE title at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. The extra stipulation in this match was that the 6 entrants who lost would have to enter the Elimination Chamber itself at the pay-per-view, and the winner of that would challenge for the WWE title at WrestleMania 27. No eliminations occurred until all the 7 entrants had entered the bout. In the end, Jerry the King Lawler won the match after eliminating Sheamus with help from John Cena, who had already been eliminated. This was another good televised Rumble, but not as good as the SmackDown one. The winner and losers stipulation added to this bout was a cool concept, and my final say here is sagacious again, basically for the same reason as the SmackDown Royal Rumble, that being Royal Rumbles being shown on TV. And just quickly, the final exclusive we're given is Booker T giving an interview with Shawn Michaels on the kickoff show from the 2015 Royal Rumble. Just wanted to mention this too. I'm not going to give this a score as this isn't a match and the scoring system I use is for matches only, but this short interview with these Hall of Famers is good though, mind you. And that's that. The whole feature done and dusted. Firstly, let's recap the scoring system. My overall score showed that 6 of the matches featured here were sagacious choices, 5 of them were competent choices, and 2 were baffling choices, so it was a closer call this time between the high and middle scores. Now it's time to look at the pros and cons regarding the documentary. Firstly, the pros. For me, they were good backstory, though it kind of felt too short to me, but as I said before, I thought it was fine. Key topics discussed, they were good and sort of on point, though there was a bad aspect regarding them, but I'll get to that in a moment. Admitting negative aspects, the big example being the crowd reactions to those who fans rejected as Rumble winners was a good point, as WWE sometimes tried to hide the negative aspects of these kind of things. And finally, recognition given to the undercard matches. We of course have all seen tremendous bouts besides the Royal Rumble take place at these events. Now it's time to look at the cons. Well, the way it was presented with the back and forth concept with the present day scenes was unnecessary to me, and it felt, I don't know, irrelevant, if you like. The length of the documentary was somewhat short. They could have removed the present day scenes and made it maybe, 90 minutes long, so we could get more in-length details on key events and topics. And finally, the key topics being too brief. That's due to the length of the documentary, of course. 1 minute, those being interviewed talk about one certain topic, and then they suddenly change the subject too quickly. And with all that said, those are my pros and cons for the documentary. Now to give it a score. My score for the documentary alone is going to be just a 6 out of 10 here. It isn't bad on the whole, but it could have definitely been well more presented in my opinion. Now for the matches that were the best choices to be in this set. Well, for me personally, they are the Rockers versus the Orient Express from the 1991 Royal Rumble, the 2007 Royal Rumble match, purely because of the ending between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, and, funny enough, the SmackDown Royal Rumble from the Blu-Ray exclusives. As for matches I would have had in this feature, I would have had the 1992 Royal Rumble match, given that that was the first one where there was a prize for the winner, that being the vacant WWF title. I would also select Triple H versus Cactus Jack in a street fight at the 2000 Royal Rumble. The last man standing match between John Cena and Umaga from the 2007 Rumble. Even Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan from the 2014 Rumble I would have also included. And for a Blu-ray exclusive, I would have chosen the Corporate Royal Rumble match from the January 11th 1999 episode of Raw. These are the bouts I would have put in this feature. So, my overall thoughts on this feature. Well, as a Royal Rumble fan, I did enjoy this on the whole, all things considered. Yes, as said, there were some strange choices for matches featured, I admit that. The documentary itself, it is what it is, and it did give a somewhat good enough story on the Royal Rumble concept, though it did feel brief. Now, for the reason why I think fans aren't fond of the matches included is because the matches featured aren't the greatest choices, but we must remember that the title of this feature is called The True Story of the Royal Rumble, and not The Greatest Matches of the Royal Rumble. So maybe WWE decided to put in a compilation of matches that they themselves felt were pleasing enough, but I don't know really, that's just speculation. And so for an overall score for this feature, I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 because while it's not a masterpiece of home media, I actually still consider it one of my favourite home media releases, and I enjoy this feature much more than the one looked at in the last episode, WCW's Greatest Pay-Per-View Matches. And so it's time to end today's episode. It was fun on the whole going over this feature in today's episode from a review perspective. If you do have this feature on you, please let me know your thoughts on the true story of the Royal Rumble. I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and please join me again next time. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon for episode 7. Bye for now.